Imagine a word so terrifying that ancient scribes refused to say it out loud. They just wrote it once and moved on. Abaddon. Destruction. Doom. The place where things go to die. That single Hebrew word appears only 6 times in the entire Old Testament, but every time it shows up, the ground feels colder. Job calls it the realm where kings and slaves end up the same, rotting together. Proverbs says the road to Sheol is paved with it. In the Psalms, it's the lowest pit you can fall into, deeper than the sea, darker than the grave. By the time the book of Revelation is written around 95 AD, that old word has grown teeth. It's no longer just a place. It's a king. Revelation 9 verse 11 gives us the first and only moment in the entire Bible where Abaddon becomes a person. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek, Apollyon. 1 verse. That's it. But it's enough to launch 2,000 years of nightmares. Picture the scene John saw on Patmos. The 5th trumpet blasts. A star falls from heaven with a key in its hand. It unlocks the shaft of the abyss. Smoke pours out like a furnace, blacking out the sun. Then come locusts, except these aren't normal bugs. They're the size of horses, wearing iron breastplates, faces like men, hair like women, teeth like lions, tails like scorpions that sting for 5 straight months. And their commander? Abaddon. Now that we've set the stage with this bizarre trumpet blast and the star falling like a cosmic keymaster, let's dive headfirst into the smoke and see what John is really showing us. Remember, Revelation isn't a linear history book. It's a vision packed with symbols that echo the Old Testament but crank the volume to 11. John isn't just describing some future bug apocalypse. He's pulling threads from prophets like Joel and Ezekiel, weaving a tapestry of judgment that's as much about spiritual warfare as it is literal torment. But to unpack it, we have to roll up our sleeves and tackle those 6 weird details one by one, exploring how they build to something bigger than a bad dream. First off, that falling star. It's not a meteor or a comet. John calls it a hymn, a personified being with agency, handed a key to unlock the abyss. Scholars like G.K. Beale, in his commentary on Revelation, point out that stars often symbolize angels in the Bible, like in Revelation 1 where the 7 stars are messengers to the churches. This star is fallen, but not in the fallen angel sense like Lucifer in Isaiah 14 or Luke 10 verse 18. It's a perfect tense, meaning it's already down, on a mission from God. Robert Thomas, in his 2-volume work on Revelation, argues it's a holy angel, not demonic, because it's given the key by divine authority, just like the angel in Revelation 20 who locks up Satan. So, this isn't Satan sneaking out. It's God ordering the gates open for a controlled release of judgment. Think of it as heaven's SWAT team captain flipping the switch on a prison riot, terrifying but orchestrated. Moving to the bottomless pit itself, the abyss, or abyssos in Greek. This isn't some vague metaphor for hell. It's a specific lockup in biblical cosmology. In the Old Testament, it's tied to Sheol, the shadowy underworld where the dead wait, like in Job 26 verse 6, where Abaddon is naked before God, and the destroyer has no covering. But here, it's a furnace belching smoke that blots out the sun, darkening an already dim world from previous trumpets. Tony Garland, in his A Testimony of Jesus Christ, commentary notes how this echoes the plagues of Egypt, darkness falling as divine wrath builds. The smoke isn't just atmospheric. It's a veil for what's coming, like the volcanic ash from Mount St. Helens in 1980 that turned day to night for hundreds of miles, per USGS reports. John is saying the spiritual realm is breaking into the physical, and it's ugly. Out of that smoke swarm the locusts, but these are no ordinary pests. Joel 2 describes a locust plague as God's army, but John amps it up. Horse-sized, human-faced, lion-toothed, scorpion-tailed, iron-armored. They're commanded, not by Abaddon yet, but implied by God, to spare nature but torment unsealed humans for 5 months. That's key. They don't kill, just torture like scorpion stings that make men beg for death but can't find it. Ladd in his commentary calls this the ultimate horror, worse than dying, endless agony without release. Exploration here reveals echoes of the Exodus plagues, where locusts devoured Egypt but spared Israel, Exodus 10. Scholars like Beale see the 5 months as symbolic of a limited judgment period, like the flood's 150 days, 5 months in Jewish calendar. But why locusts? In ancient Near East lore, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, similar hybrid beasts guard underworld gates. John's flipping it, making them invaders. These creatures aren't natural. They're supernatural, possibly demonic forces released for a season. The Interpreter's Bible from the 1950s suggests they're agents of God, not Satan, because their mission is precise. Harm only the unsealed, like the 144,000 protected in chapter 7. Development in interpretation shows a split. Amillennialists like Augustine saw them as heresies tormenting the church through history, while premillennialists like Thomas see literal future demons. Stats from a 2022 Barna survey show 60% of Christians believe in a literal apocalypse, up 10% from 2010, making these debates hotter than ever. The torments like scorpion stings, real pain, but symbolic of spiritual agony. In Luke 10, verse 19, Jesus gives power over scorpions as evil spirits. Here, they're unleashed on the godless. Men seek death but can't find it. Echoing Job 3, verse 21, or Jeremiah 8, verse 3, where life becomes unbearable curse. This exploration highlights God's sovereignty. Even chaos has limits. 5 months, no killing, no harming seal believers. It's judgment with mercy's boundary, developing the theme that God's wrath serves redemption. But the big development? These locusts have a king, the angel of the bottomless pit, Abaddon in Hebrew, Apollyon in Greek, both meaning destroyer. Not Satan. Revelation calls Satan the dragon or serpent elsewhere. Scholars like Beale argue he's a high-ranking demon under God's control, leading this horde like a general. The name ties to Old Testament Abaddon as destruction's realm, Proverbs 15, verse 11, personified here. Greek Apollyon evokes Apollo, Roman god linked to locusts and plagues, perhaps John's jab at emperor worship. This king rules from the pit, emerging with his army, possibly fallen angels from 2 Peter 2 verse 4 or Jude 6, chained till judgment. The climax builds. Is Abaddon evil or God's tool? Methodist scholars in the Interpreter's Bible lean toward holy angel, jailing Satan in chapter 20. But most see him demonic, his horde torturing the unsealed as partial judgment before the end. As the smoke clears in our minds, the climax hits with that verse, Revelation 9 verse 11, naming the king as Abaddon/Apollyon. This is the weird core, a destroyer angel ruling hybrid horrors from hell's basement. But is this Satan's breakout or God's tactical strike? Climax sharpens on identity. From tools, sharper iron, and enduring word, see him as demonic destroyer, king of tormenting spirits. Bible Gateway Encyclopedia notes O.T. Abaddon as ruin's place, and T as pit's angel. Stack Exchange Hermeneutics suggests translating as destruction and destroyer for clarity. Facebook groups and Quora debates split. Some say Antichrist or Satan, others God's agent per Revelation 20's keyholder locking the dragon. Key moment. The angel with the key in 9:1 verses 20:1. Same key, same pit, same angel? Blue Letter Bible and Study Light argue yes. Abaddon as divine jailer, not inmate. This flips the script. The locusts as God's plague. Like Egypt's, Abaddon his enforcer. Climax peaks, realizing Abaddon might be the hero locking evil away, his destruction targeting sin. Revelation's weirdness echoes Genesis 6. Sons of God mating with women, birthing giants, Nephilim as hybrid horrors like these locusts. Joshua 10. Sun standing still, hail killing more than swords, divine intervention bending nature. These weird texts challenge naturalism, forcing acceptance of supernatural weird or allegorizing away. So from the very beginning, we have two Abaddons fighting for the same name. One is the bottomless garbage dump of the universe, The black hole where the wicked are deleted. The other is the crowned angel who rules that dump, who might be humanity's worst enemy, or the one who locks the door so the enemy can't get out. Fast forward 1,000 years. The Middle Ages love a good monster, and Abaddon delivers. John Bunyan is sitting in Bedford Prison in 1678, writing the most famous Christian allegory ever. In The Pilgrim's Progress, Christian has to walk through the valley of humiliation. Out of the shadows steps Apollyon, huge, scaled, dragon-winged, breathing fire, spear in hand. It's the single most memorable fight in the book. Bunyan never calls him Satan. He just calls him the Destroyer, and Christian barely survives by stabbing him with the sword of the Spirit. 17 years earlier, John Milton had already drafted the ultimate demonic roster in Paradise Lost. Book 2, lines 624 to 628. In his rising seemed a pillar of state, deep on his front, raven. Deliberation sat in public care, and princely counsel in his face he had shown, majestic though in ruin. That's Abaddon, fallen, regal, terrifying, and still somehow noble. Milton makes him one of the top lieutenants in Hell's Parliament. The name sticks. By the 19th century, romantic poets are obsessed. Robert Browning's 1855 poem, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower ends with a knight facing Apollyon in a blasted wasteland, a final boss made of every nightmare the Victorian age could dream up. Then pop culture grabs the name and never lets go. Warhammer 40,000 turns the Abyss into the Warp and Abaddon the Despoiler into the War Master of Chaos, arguably the biggest bad guy in tabletop gaming. Supernatural Season 8 makes Abaddon a knight of hell, so powerful she rips apart the men of letters. Diablo, Darksiders, Binding of Isaac, even the third book of The Expanse, Abaddon's Gate, all borrow the name because it just sounds like the end of everything. But the weirdest twist? Some modern theologians and a surprising number of metal albums treat Abaddon as the good guy. The Methodist Interpreter's Bible, 1950s, and scholars like Gregory Beale argue Revelation 20 trumps Revelation 9. The angel with the key who locks Satan away is the same angel who opened the pit earlier. In that reading, the Locust army is a controlled burn, God's shock and awe judgment on a corrupt world, and Abaddon is the general running the operation for the Almighty. Think about it. Every time the abyss is opened in the Bible, it's by divine permission. The demons in Luke 8 begged Jesus not to send them there. Revelation says it's chained shut until God says otherwise. If Abaddon is the warden, then the scariest name in Scripture might actually be the one keeping the worst monsters off the streets. So where does that leave us today? Walk into any heavy metal venue, and you'll hear the name screamed. Irish death metal band Abaddon Incarnate has been growling it since 1994. American sludge lords saviors titled their 2008 album Into Abaddon. Black Sabbath never wrote a song called Abaddon, but every riff they ever played owes something to the vibe. In video games, he's a recurring final boss because game designers know one thing. If you want the player to feel genuine dread, you call the level Abaddon, and you're done. Yet at the exact same time, in quiet seminary libraries and online theology forums, people are still arguing the same question the church fathers asked in the 3rd century. Is the angel of the abyss the enemy, or the bouncer God posted at the door of hell? The Bible never answers it directly. It drops the name 6 times as a place, once as a person, gives him the keys to the worst prison in the universe, and walks away. That silence is the scariest part. Because if Abaddon is God's angel, then destruction itself is holy. And if he's not, then the warden has the keys and nobody knows whose side he's really on. Maybe that's the point. In a world that feels like it's coming apart, wildfires, pandemics, wars, collapse, the ancient Hebrews already had a name for the feeling. Abaddon. A place of no return. A king with a crown of locusts. A force that can empty cities in a night or lock the dragon away for 1,000 years. The next time you hear that name, in a metal song, a video game, or whispered in some old leather-bound commentary, remember this. The Bible introduced him with a trumpet blast and a falling star, handed him the key to the end of the world, and never told us whether to run from him or thank him for keeping the door shut. Because in the end, Abaddon isn't just a monster or a jailer. He's the question mark at the bottom of everything, and the pit is still waiting. If that left you staring into the dark, smash subscribe. The next abyss is already loading.